Hey, you look nice.
Hey, this is what happens when you come home from work and you got 1,500 things to do and you don't have any time to change. You just don't.
The thought of wearing a tie every day makes me sad.
But see, like I cheat. Like I've got, like I was telling you earlier, I've got all my dress shirts are like dry fit. I use that and collar, which if they'd like to sponsor me, I'd be okay with that. And then I've gotten where I can tie a tie well, so I've got it to where I can breathe. But it is what it is.
I'm not a tie guy, but you look nice. You look great.
You could be a tie guy.
It would when you work in a lawn care company, even in the corporate office.
Oh yeah. No. You've got to match. We talk all the time too about like educators. You need to match your clientele. You know,
For sure.
If you're teaching calculus, well then heck, get up there in a collared shirt and whatever. But you're chasing kindergartners around. Don't wear a skirt.
That's right.
Especially if you're a guy.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody at work today, and I said we're finally we fought out here in Memphis. It's great. But I said, how excited are you to be back in the office? And she said, I'm wearing jeans and shoes, and I'm not happy about it. I was like, you can wear sweatpants to the office. I'm not going to say anything.
No. All right. So it's been what, almost a month since we've hung out.
Almost a month. We've gotten some good feedback, I feel like, on episode 1. So thanks to everybody for listening.
Yeah, that was totally cool. I enjoyed getting to see a good little cross section of your circle and my circle kind of light up. I don't know if anybody knows each other, but maybe they will over this. So this month, February, we are talking about, I figure since we're kind of going into the I'm trying to find a theme, right? So February, we've got love with Valentine's Day. We've got on the 13th is Mardi Gras. And then of course I like to call February 15th is 50% off chocolate day. I like to celebrate 50% off chocolate day every year on February the 15th. So I was like, we put a lot of faith inside relationships and love. We've also got, it's election season, and I don't know if you're into that drama. If people who tell me that they don't like the election stuff, do not tell me that you watch wrestling. Do not tell me that you watch the OC or Grey's Anatomy, or the whole thing's a drama. Everybody's a bit player, a character in something. That's all it is. These people are insane, but these are the ones who are going to run our country, Lord willing. So we'll see where it ends up. So I thought, what could we kind of jump in with this one? And, I was reading something and it was kind of talking about what we put our faith in, and it referenced Psalms 146. Now, you and I are both men of faith. We both believe in Jesus. And as much as I would love for everybody to do that, I know not everybody will. So it's kind of like, remember when Creed said that they were Christians in a band, not a Christian band? Kind of the same thing here. It's like, there are a lot of Judeo-Christian tenements that we follow with, or tenets that we follow. So this one, Psalms 146:3, do not put your trust in princes, in mortal men who cannot save. And I thought, instead of, blasting everybody else with all the things that they do wrong, right? You always, the quintessential they, I thought let's get a little introspective, and let's kind of talk about what things have we put our trust in that are real, not the other stuff that, I've put my faith in money, which we will talk about. Yes, that's a real thing. But there's also those things that kind of we go through life, and I think it helps kind of formulate in making us who we are. So what things did we put our faith in, and how did those choices pan out? How do you want to start this?
I think it could get deep relatively quickly. So maybe let's start light. You and I talked about this a little bit when we first talked about what was going to be the February episode. Was like the day after Nick Saban announced his retirement. So it was it's really interesting because I've got a bunch of Alabama friends who I've got some friends who played baseball at Alabama and are big Alabama football fans. So it'd be crazy to say that they did not put their hope and faith in Nick Saban. Alabama fans, they absolutely did, and Nick Saban has done a number for the University of Alabama to make it larger than what it already is. And
yeah, not just football. I mean, they've talked all about enrollment and whatnot, but think about it. He's been there, what, 17 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine you're 17. This isn't the last episode where we talked to our 18-year-old self, but imagine you're 17 and you've had these plans all along to go to Alabama and go see that Alabama football team. You have known nothing but Nick Saban.
Yeah. And well, me and my buddy Clay always talk about the Ohio State fans and the Alabama fans who were 17. Y'all were born on third base. You don't know what it's like to suck. And I don't expect you're going to start sucking because you got Washington's coach.
Oh, no.
But those people that are about to enroll in their freshman year, not having Nick Saban is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. So that right there. And you said we can get pretty deep, and we will, but kind of just, you'll see this thread going through. At least I found it. I don't know if you found this going through all this, but a lot of these things that we put our faith in, that we put our trust in, that we put our hope in, I think kind of selfishly allows us to find our identity, what we put our identity in. I almost made the joke about, you have some Alabama football fan friends, oh, did they get their t-shirt at Walmart like the rest of them? And then you said, well, he played baseball at Alabama. I was like, well, never mind. I couldn't say that because that's one of
I know plenty of the Walmart fans though.
That's true. So, so I was kind of thinking, like stuff like activities from childhood. So, you've got two young ones. I've got technically two young ones. Charlotte's 12. She'll be 13 in a handful of months. So then I get a teenage girl at that to deal with. But I think a lot of like growing up, select teams, baseball teams, basketball teams, soccer teams. I remember when I made here in Clinton, when I got the list that I made the select soccer team. I remember moving to Clinton, and I don't know if anybody who was in my third grade class will be listening to this, but in third grade, there was a whole all-star team called the Clinton Magic. And on third grade recess, we would go outside where the big wall was at Northside, and we would play Magic versus, and it was whoever was on the all-star team, and then everybody else made up a team. And I remember sitting there thinking, why am I on this other team? Why can't I be on that team? How do I get to be on that team? And these other people are very clearly identified in a very different manner than me. So making the select team, I've made it. I have arrived. I'm 12 years old, and here I am. Barcelona should be calling me saying, we want you. We realized you made the 12-year-old select soccer team. So select teams like that, being young like that. Yeah, I think that was something I put a lot of my trust in. I also remember the year that I did not get the letter that I was on the team, because we got a new coach, and that was it. That was the end of me playing soccer. I love soccer. You see behind me, I got all my stuff. I love it still to this day. But that was done, and I was no longer the kid on the soccer team. I remember you and I, if you want to talk a little bit about this, we've talked a lot about who are you without baseball, which that day came, but you dealt with that from an early age.
Yeah, I was thinking through you talking about. I remember Arsenal. My first memory of Arsenal was the white shirt, the box logo, and it said Arsenal. And if you have that shirt, you are a part of something, right? That's my big thing, is everything I kept going back to is being a part of something. Probably putting my hope and my trust in others, and being a part of a greater cause. So you talk about getting the letter. I remember riding my bike to the new high school. I still call it the new high school. It was built in '96, right?
The high school now, yeah.
The high school now, right?
Which is now having issues because it was built in 1996.
Ride my bike down the big hill to the baseball field. They posted if you made the team or not. And so I remember seeing my name. And when I got my first Clinton High School baseball shirt, people probably still make fun of me. I wore it every day, right? I belong to this. And then the farther that I made it, I remember one of the first rules in the Minnesota Twins organization was you cannot wear Twins gear outside of the clubhouse because they call that billboarding, but it's a kind of protect you and to protect the club to, you know, if you decide to do something stupid. But that was kind of the rule number one. Once you leave the clubhouse, you're not to wear the Minnesota Twins gear. And I remember thinking like, but this is who I am. I belong to this team. And I was thinking back through when I blew my knee out and had surgery, and the doctor basically said, "Hey, did you graduate?" I would go get a job. I remember telling the general manager of the minor league squad that you know, I was never the most talented, but I would work harder than anybody else, and I would push harder than anybody else. And I don't think my body is going to allow me to do that any longer. And for that reason, I have to retire. I remember telling Mom that really after I left the field to go back to the hotel to fly home the last time I would, you know, wear cleats. And that moment shattered my world, you know, for 20 minutes, because I had to figure out who was I going to be now that I was no longer Phillip Chapman, the baseball player. I had to start completely over. And you know, there for a little while, my world was rocked.
Yeah, you had, so I have finally, you know, caught up to the rest of the world in the 2000s, and I'm watching The Wire. I don't know if you've ever watched The Wire, but I absolutely love that show. It's great. I honestly think that I'm kind of finding more sympathy for the drug dealers, which I don't know what that says about me, but it's a great show. But I'm noticing that in there, all of their hierarchies are built out of straw. You know, if the main guy is not there, then the second guy is going to take care of it. But if neither one of them are there, then all these kids, all of these gangbangers, who are they without this made up hierarchy? And kind of the same thing was also in the same police thing. You know, I kept thinking, I tell a lot of people, a lot of our identity and a lot of what we put our faith in reminds me a lot of like a high school relationship. Right. You know, you could be, we've known those people. I've got two friends that were boyfriend and girlfriend from like 5th grade, and they're married now, have 2 kids, do wonderful things in the community. But I also know those people who were boyfriend and girlfriend from 7th grade through 12th grade and broke up in May. And those years worth of work and toiling over this relationship, you get out of it and there's nothing. There's no divorce settlement. It doesn't affect your credit score. You don't owe anybody anything. You know, now in a marriage you do, because, you know, you've gone into this covenant, which we talked Sunday about that. But here, I mean, it's literally, it's made of straw. And I think a lot of times we do that. Some of the little things that I put down there, you know, we talked about teams from childhood, social trends and phases. I guarantee you one part, you can name one of the trends through growing up, because again, it's part of adolescence. It's part of getting there. Whether, you know, you were all, which I know for me, I was all into what kind of music I listened to, what kind of t-shirt I wore. I'm going to wear like Charlotte has a Metallica t-shirt. She wasn't allowed to get that shirt until we listened to a handful of albums, and she knew a handful of names of songs, so that when turds like me asked her, "Oh, you're wearing the shirt, you better, you know any of the songs," she can say, "Yes, I do." But I'm gonna wear, I'm gonna wear the Smashing Pumpkins shirt and all the mainstream things. But it was even cooler if you had a t-shirt of a band that no one knew of. What is this thing that you know of? You are on this cutting edge. And a lot of times that's such a childish, literal childhood example. But you look at it now, and if you're on the cutting edge of something business wise, or you're on the cutting edge of something in your community, and you're the guy who has it first, and you become the guy who has it first 3, 4, 5 times in a row, what happens if somebody else gets it first? Who won? You know, I think a lot of times we do that. I put on here too, I was watching some NFL football. First of all, if you haven't watched NFL this last 4 weeks, these have been some of the best football games ever. It's the same guys we all watched in college, and so it's just been some wonderful stuff. It's not the same old guy names. It's not the people our age. It's the actual kids. But I was watching the Saints game, and, you know, they've got the characters that are in the stands that have their season tickets. Yeah. They very much find their identity in that and put trust in that. Who are you when it's over? or even here we go. We'll do this. This is one thing everybody can do. You get a common enemy. You can put your faith in having a common enemy. It doesn't matter what happens. Yeah. So now that I am now a Yankees fan, my hat came in. So now I'm an official Yankees fan. I have a hat. My Cardinals are not so great, but I gotta find something I can do, right? So I have a hat. I'm a Yankees fan, so that means we hate the Red Sox, right?
That's right.
I just want to make sure I'm on the right list. But you think about it, every college football fan, you say anything about the NCAA, you've got a common enemy. Gosh, I hate the NCAA. The NCAA. Everybody hates the NCAA. Any commissioner of any sport, it's a common enemy. They're out to get you. The no fun league, right? I was in one of my marketing classes that we took a couple years ago. We read about this word called. Hang on, I put it in my little notes. I'm looking for my notes down here. Oh. It's German. There we go. We got it. It's called Schadenfreude. So we can't, I'm a wonderful German accent here. I know. There is no English word that is the equivalent of it, but the literal translation for that is damaged joy. So you find emotional experiences of pleasure in the response of another person's, team's, group's misfortune. If you put your faith in that way, man, you talk about being that's just a bitter, we do it all the time, but that's a bitter living. And in fact, the example in the book was you go to up to New England and it's Boston and the Yankees could lose. And everybody's going to say, well, how the Red Sox do? Yeah. Well, the Red Sox lost. Good. It's been a great day, right? You lost. Yeah. The Red Sox lost too, right? It's that joy in the pain of others, which also the exact opposite of that is a word called, here another great one, Freudenfreude, which is joy in other people's joy. How difficult is it to change that mindset to find joy in the joys of others?
Yeah, I'm gonna add one thing too before I go into that is when I was looking up hope, the biggest word that stuck out to me is expectation.
Yeah.
In the definition, it's a feeling of expectation. This is not a wish. This is not a keep our fingers crossed, but there's a sense of expectation there. And I think that's why the second German word that you said is so hard when things aren't going our way, because there's a sense of expectation that we expect to be taken care of first. And when everything is going my way, the way that I want it to, I'm very happy for others when they're getting their way. But so I don't have a good answer, but how hard is it to be joyful for others? We actually did talk about this Sunday. How hard is it to be joyful for others when things aren't going your way? And this is where I think it could get pretty deep. Is it depends on where your hope lies,
right?
What are we hoping in ultimately? I was writing down my big hopes. I've got another screen over here that I'm looking at. And the first one that I realized when my hope was probably in the wrong spot, I was 3 weeks away from being a dad for the first time. And my boss at my previous company said, hey, the best thing I can do right now to kind of get you up to speed is throw you in the fire. Let's go to Europe and we're going to do a 10-day audit. Megan was 8.5 months pregnant. And
that was what your first trip to Birmingham, not Birmingham.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was awful. And I think I'm self-diagnosing a panic attack. I freaked out. And I was calling Megan all hours of the night, my night, her night. Nobody was sleeping because I was completely panicked. I think the Atlantic Ocean had something to do with it because I was at the liberty of the airlines. I couldn't just hop in a car and drive over. Long story short, if I look back on it now, my hope and my expectation was this family, starting this family, providing for this family, being a part of this family. And that same hope and expectation when Teddy was born was causing all sorts of issues internally for me. Couldn't sleep, always afraid that something was going to happen to her, always checking on her. And I basically had to come to the end of myself and say, God, no matter what happens with Teddy, you're good. And I need to be okay with that. And that is to bring that conversation full circle. When we can look at our situation and understand that God is good no matter what, and our hope lies in him and him alone, is when we can find joy in others' joy, because we understand that we are better than we deserve. Not a Dave Ramsey quote, but a true quote. We're better than we deserve because Christ shows his love for us, that while we were sinners, he died for us. And when that's my hope, that's when I can find joy for others.
Every head bowed, every eye closed, don't no looking around, altar call. That was a good one right there. No, that's so true. But I'll even go beyond that, because, the same thing. If you've had kids, if you've been in the situation where you lost a baby, if you've been in the situation where you couldn't conceive, two things that I will gladly, oh my gosh, it was just wrenching in me. I never had to go through either one of those. And I have people very dear and near to me who have. And it's crazy because I can't, but I just kept thinking, I was like, what do you do in that situation? Oh man, that brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it. When you finally get to that situation and you finally get to have the baby, everybody's good. I was forgotten at the hospital when Charlotte was born. They came and got me, and then they said, "Oh, hey, by the way, she's almost here." And I'm like, "Really? Oh, no, she's here." I literally walked in, so that was almost a thing. But then we go into the next realm of the world, to where it's, again, finding that identity. We have that hope. We've gotten all that goodness, all those the things that are outside of our control, and now we become that being a parent, and that's who we are. That's what we do. I will put my hope and my faith in me raising my kid the way that I said I'm going to do it. We're going to have no screen time. All the food is going to be pureed. It's going to be homemade, organic. And then you're sitting there and other people are laughing at you like, yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. That ain't going to happen and all that. But there's a lot of that I think, then the same thing too, of you start battling back and forth of, well, I'm not being the husband that I should be because I'm working too hard to provide for my family. Don't they need to realize how thankful they should be that I'm working so hard to provide for them? And you kind of get wrapped up in the I, me. I need to make sure. And you're coming from a place of where you want to give the best, but you sometimes lose view of the why. A little Simon Sinek thrown in there, right? And you start looking at the how, and the how becomes the only thing you pay attention to. Same thing too. I got written down here, the career. Sometimes that's what we put our faith in. The job that I have now, I'd be an idiot to say that job did not fall in my lap. I was in a classroom on a Tuesday. I got a phone call on a Wednesday. Hey, do you want to take over and be the director of communications? And the next Monday, I was not a teacher anymore. Like, that's crazy. That fell in my lap. But then that bug started biting me of, well, what's next? Well, what's next? Well, what's next? And I still have that. I even have written down here. My big thing is my personal distraction all the time is opportunity. If I could I love opportunity. This could be a chance this might be the big shot that bug is always there. And sometimes I need to chase it. Most of the time I don't need to chase it. And the way that I pay attention to it is actually opposite. Most of the time I do chase it. Sometimes I don't, and it needs to be the other way around. I've got written here, government and the powers that be, work, politics. As a local elected official, I will say that the people who have the most impact in your life are your local government politicians, your aldermen, your councilmen, your supervisors, your mayor. That's a lot more important to you every day than who's governor and who's president.
I actually learned that this past year. We built a house in 2018, and there were some water issues. basically there was a bottleneck when everybody started building houses in an area that had no houses being built. There was what they call a blue line ditch or a blue line creek, and everybody put in culverts that were too small, but the county approved of them. And so we started getting like flooding was happening when these gully washers would come. And we actually got to meet with our local aldermen and the supervisors, and they looked at everything and had some people come out and they're like, no, yeah, let's get this taken care of. We don't want you guys having, permanent damage because of this. And they got it done. They got it taken care of. I was like, hey, I see our tax dollars going to work
right.
here.
Right there. Vote early, vote often. So make sure you vote for the right ones. I'm not saying who to vote for in Ward 3, but I would vote for me.
Chapman.
I even put on here talents and aptitudes, social media. I think there's been so many people who talked about, do it for the gram. You are not a social media guy.
I have none. I have LinkedIn.
You have LinkedIn. What made you? So I wouldn't have it if I didn't have to have it for work and for other things. I'd just get rid of it and disappear. What made you give it up?
It wasn't a big when I was in college. Facebook was in high school, but Instagram was in marriage. And so I had it for a little while and I could never get into it. But Facebook, I played at the University of Memphis, and while our baseball team is in a is pretty mid-major. We're not bringing out tens of thousands like an SEC school is, but our basketball team is very major. And you talk about coaches. Penny Hardaway comes to the University of Memphis, and we're expecting to win national championships, and that's not happening.
They won.
So one of the basketball players posted something on his Facebook, and a local journalist used a quote from his Facebook in a news article. And so it was a huge issue. And so all athletes had to sign up for, there was like 150,000 buzzwords, some crazy buzzword number, that if you posted something and it had that buzzword, it sent an email to your coach. Your coach had full access to your social media account. And at that point I was like, this is not important enough. I don't need any of this. And so I got rid of it then. Facebook, I got rid of then. Tried the Instagram. That wasn't for me. And it's just not I have plenty of other vices that vie for my attention, and I don't need to be scrolling through an Instagram page.
I agree with you there. Like I said, I got rid of Facebook for a while, and then I got this job, and it was, all right, I probably need to be on there for monitoring purposes and all that. It is crazy. I still I've over 4 years, the vast majority of public school individuals on the Facebook have realized that if they tag me in something, I'm not replying back. And if they haven't figured that out yet, I could just tell them right now, I'm not replying back. I don't do the Facebook stuff on purpose. It's there. I wrote down here too, wealth and money, which I think is a very obvious one. People very much put their faith and hope and trust in money. I was telling Megan the other day, we're living in such an opulent world. I mean, even flat broke opulence everywhere. And it just reminds me of 1910, 1920s, then October 29th, 1929 hit and is gone. And I'm sitting there wondering how much of that are we? So 2 lyrics that I wrote that, of course, there's, the Red Hot Chili Peppers lyric, give it away. It's all about, why does everybody want to keep it like a Kaiser? Give it away now. But then Silverchair has a lyric that says on there, it says, you talk all the time about that you don't need money, but I'd like to see you live without it. And I was like, and these kids were 15, 16 years old when they wrote it. And I thought, how in the world would we do that? But we do it every day. We say we don't need it. Gosh, we love it.
It's that's obviously the first thing that popped into mind. I work in corporate finance. I love personal finance. I enjoy reading about it. I was talking to Megan about this. You and I saw from a very young age what true generosity looks like. We have Aunt Jennifer and Uncle David are very, very generous people in our life. We've seen generosity from our family, from plenty of friends. and I want to be a generous person. I'm striving to be a generous person, but I have this mindset of security. I wrote down finance. It's and what security financial well-being brings. And Dave Ramsey's Baby Steps talks about if you get a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, that's the place to be. And so I was striving to get this 6 month emergency fund, and I still think that's a good idea for anybody who's listening. I think it's wise to be wise with money. But my whole thing was, if I get this money set aside, I can weather any storm. I can kind of be in a position. And I was listening to a Tim Keller sermon one day, and he was talking about just being obnoxiously generous. That's the goal. We should be just obnoxiously generous. And he said, I don't care how many months of security you have in a savings account. If you get cancer, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it was like I was punched in the mouth. I was like, but I'm not going to get cancer. Right. I mean, let's don't talk crazy.
I did what Dave Ramsey told me to do, and I have my 3 to 6 months. I'm right. Got immunity.
Don't talk about cancer. Yeah. But that was when I was like, you know what? It's good to be wise with money. It's good to set this money aside. It's better to be generous. It's better and so I think it's wise to have the savings. I'm not saying blow all your money, but that was a day, this was 4 or 5 years ago, that I was like, I'm going to start in my personal budget putting in line items for generosity. Who can I give money to? Where can I give money to? And it does make you feel like, but I want to be a benefit to people. If I look at what the Lord has provided me, I want to be a blessing to other people out of the love and generosity that He's given to me. And it's just been, Megan and I have to really do some neat things through her business and through a couple other things. And so that Tim Keller sermon really opened my eyes to, no matter what you have set aside, one thing could wipe it all away.
One thing could take it out. Yep. Yeah. I've just started reading a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, and it's about the restaurant business and how you make an experience be the greatest experience ever. And said, you meet those people. It's Will Guidara, Guidara, Unreasonable Hospitality, the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. And I just love that idea. But he talks a lot in there about these kitchens that have all of this freedom to make all of these wonderful things and wonderful experiences and just give and give and give and give. And then there's other ones that are a little more corporately focused, and they're what I keep saying, a P&L. I had to Google a P&L. That's a profits and loss statement, by the way. I know that now. I Googled it, but it's like financially they're a lot more secure. And he kept saying there's got to be a way to do it in between. And so I think a lot of what you say of so many times, it's like, well, what if we just give? We just give and we just give and we just give. Well, don't you need something? No, I'm fine. No, you put the oxygen mask on first, and then you help the person next to you. And so I like this idea of that balance. And so in that, again, kind of going back to, where is your hope found? Where is your foundation truly in? Ours is in Jesus. So because there is an ever abundant area full of blessing, whether it be financial, whether it be just encouraging, whether it be in relationships, whether it be in fill in the blank, you can make other people's experience unreasonably wonderful. But are you going to run out? No, I'm not going to run out. Well, what if you have nothing? Well, there's other people who are doing the same thing, and they're trying to find me to help me feel unreasonably hospitable. So I think I'm with you on that, of being generous, not what's the word they've been using? Not grandstanding, not virtue signaling. I'm not virtue. Look how wonderful I am. You go find somebody and say, gosh, you're just a humble person. Yeah. I'm humble.
Let me tell you how humble I am.
I'm just so humble. Let me tell you, I wrote a book about it. You want to read my book? $14.95. You get it on Amazon though. It's $19.99. So don't worry about it. It's a lot of that. It's not virtue signaling. You have to live it out. You have to more walk the walk than talk the talk. Most of the time, there's not a lot of talk the talk. And I think that we go philosophical. I think we can get back to Francis of Assisi, show Jesus all the time. And if you have to, use words. I don't think that that's a cop out to where you don't get to tell people about Jesus. I think it's your words aren't even necessary. You're going to tell them. It's not even necessary. How are your actions? Are you more walking the walk than talking the talk? And I hope I am. But I think we talked last time about how we can be our biggest cheerleader, but also our biggest critic. I think I can go back and rip myself apart pretty easily and say you're not doing a good enough job. But then I could fall on that and say, well, then now that's my new identity. That's my new thing that I'm worshiping and putting in front of me is how am I living up to this expectation?
Yeah.
And that's that cycle. And I think it's so hard. That's why I think it needs to be a daily thing of what are you paying attention to? What are you putting your hope in? Because your coach is going to retire. The president is not going to be the president. The other guy's going to win. The other team's going to win. And you can be, what's his name from the Chiefs, and stand out there and watch everybody else celebrate. It's not you. It's not your victory. That's not your confetti. Use it as fuel. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when I streamed football games, I was talking to my intern. I have an intern, by the way, which is wild that they would give me an intern.
How do you like your coffee, Mr. Chapman?
Yeah, well, it's a former student of mine, so I mean, we're cool. We know each other real well, so at least we got that. But you know, I was telling her about when we used to stream football games, and it was awesome, and you were in it, and you were producing, and you had all that, and it was me by myself, and I had people that I was there, and then it was over, and I closed the laptop, and that was it. Like there was nothing. I would high five myself, like, yay, me. All right, pack up. Put the 4 backpacks on and carry all this junk out from the breast box. You're by yourself.
You're the weird guy with all the stuff.
Absolutely. Everybody, you got no backpacks there, Chapman? Oh, yeah. You want to help me carry some of these instead of making fun of me? That'd be awesome. Yeah, right. Appreciate it, you know. But yeah. Well, we're running up on that 2.5 minute time.
All right.
It's wild that 40 minutes here was a lot easier taken than last time. I got a few ideas for the next go round, so I'll send you a few things. I'll give you 2 minutes. You want to close anything up?
Yeah, I've got something. So, Horatio Spafford is he lived in the 1800s. He lost everything in a fire, the Great Chicago Fire. He lost everything. And then 2 years later, he sent his 4 daughters and his wife on a boat to Europe for a trip. And in the middle of the ocean, the boat got hit by another boat. It sunk. All 4 girls died. His wife escaped, made it to Europe. So he takes a boat over to Europe to be with his grieving wife. And when he crosses over the part where the crash happened and his daughters died, he wrote the famous song, "It Is Well." And, you know, it says, when peace like a river attendeth my way and sorrows like sea billows roll. That was written on that boat when he lost basically 4/5 of his family. It goes on to say, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. And he was able to write that because he knew the end of the story. And the end of the story is Jesus died, loved him, rose again to save us. And so, again, I think we ended last time with "There's a Reason," and that'll probably be a theme here with me. But no matter what, you can look to the end. We know the end of the story. Jesus died. He loves you. He shows you that love for you in the cross. And so that is what, it's a battle every day, but that is what I'm trying to focus on and put my hope in. And so I challenge everybody else to do the same.
Do not put your trust in princes and mortal men who cannot save. On the other end of that, there is someone who is not mortal, who came to this earth, died for our sins, and who can save. I'm going to cut out on you before it cuts out on us. Love you. I'll talk to you later. Have a good February.